Experience more profitable end-to-end inventory management, pricing precision with real shopper data, efficient sourcing aligned to your strategy, AI-powered vehicle descriptions that save time and drive engagement. Experience more with vAuto by Cox Automotive.
Welcome to Daily Drive for Thursday, April 9th, 2026. I'm Kellen Walker in Las Vegas. Today on the show, Kia is getting into pickups. Hyundai's CEO calls globalization completely over as the company reroutes ships to avoid the Middle East. And BYD plans 20 sales locations in Canada. Plus, Genesis Motor North America COO Ted Mengiste talks about the brand's new Magma performance line.
We wanted to add just a little more energy and adrenaline to our vehicles, so that's where the performance end comes.
Let's run through all the news you need to know to keep up in the auto industry. Kia is getting into the pickup truck game. CEO Ho Sung Song says the company will launch a mid-size truck in both electric and range extender versions by 2030. That puts Kia squarely up against the Toyota Tacoma, Ford Ranger, and Chevy Colorado. Song's betting on 90,000 trucks a year and 7% of the segment by 2034. It's all part of a bigger push to crack 1 million U.S. sales. Kia is also doubling down on hybrids, expanding from 4 to 8 nameplates. We'll have more on this story in a minute with our own Richard Truitt. Kia parent Hyundai Motor is taking the long way around when it comes to shipping. The automaker is rerouting ships around Africa to dodge the Strait of Hormuz, where conflict with Iran is snarling supply chains. CEO Jose Munoz tells Bloomberg, quote, "We have deviated our ships to the Cape of Good Hope. This is a lot of additional lead time. The detour is pushing Hyundai to rethink its entire operation, sourcing more parts locally in Europe and planning to boost U.S. capacity to 1.2 million vehicles by 2030. Munoz's take? He says, quote, "Globalization is over. It's completely over." And Chinese automaker BYD is opening about 20 sales locations in Canada this year. That's according to Alfredo Altavilla, a BYD advisor. The move comes as Canada courts Chinese auto investment to reduce dependence on the U.S. In January, Canada agreed to allow up to 49,000 Chinese-built EVs annually after previously blocking them with high tariffs. Last month, BYD said it's actively considering building a factory in Canada. And those are today's headlines. You can find more details on all those stories at autonews.com. Joining me now to talk more about Kia's dive into the pickup truck segment is our own Richard Truitt. Richard, welcome back to Daily Drive.
Hey, Kel, it's great to be here.
All right, Richard. So Kia's jumping into a pretty crowded midsize truck segment that's long been dominated by Toyota, Ford, and Chevy. What makes them think they can grab 7% of that market with an electrified pickup?
Well, it's not going to happen overnight, that's for sure, because the established players have got very, very loyal buyers. But Kia's got something too. They have a reputation for value and providing a lot of vehicle for the money. If you take a look at the puzzle pieces that Kia has been putting together over the last few years, it starts to make sense. They've built factories. They've launched a body-on-frame pickup truck elsewhere around the world, and they've been preparing for this day. Now, they know the competition is going to be tough, and I would expect that when they come into the market, it is going to be with some value price truck that people are going to look at because they can't believe the sticker price.
Song is pushing hard on this million-unit sales goal while also cutting back Kia's global EV targets for the second year in a row. What's that tell us about how the company sees the U.S. market right now?
Kia is a red-hot brand in the U.S. this year. Would you believe Kia has outsold Hyundai so far this year? And if we remember back in, I think, the mid-1990s, Hyundai rescued Kia from bankruptcy in the Asian financial crisis. So Kia is kind of like the underling brand, but they are just red hot with the new Telluride and Seltos and Sportage and other SUVs. And they're building a reputation for building good-looking, reliable vehicles that are a great value. It doesn't mean success in the pickup truck market, but it's a heck of a lot better than coming from nowhere.
So, Richard, Kia has access to something that a lot of automakers don't have access to. Shed some light on that.
Good point, Cal. Hyundai is in the middle of building its own steel plant in Louisiana. Now, not too many automakers have their own in-house source of steel. And what this is going to do is going to help protect Hyundai from tariffs and also reduce supply chain complexity when they can make their steel in-house and then sell it to their various plants in the US. There's another thing too that's going on. Do you remember at CES when Hyundai showed off these humanoid robots that are going to work on the assembly line? Well, that's going to reduce their labor bill. So if you take their in-house steel and robots and combine that with how it could reduce their costs, they may very well be able to come into the market and undercut all the established players. And there's one other little thing that we at Automotive News can put together like puzzle pieces. It's that we know that to make profit, they have to have volume. So Hyundai's going to get a pickup truck. Now Kia's going to get a pickup truck. And one of the analysts told me last week that they expect the Genesis brand to also get a vehicle off that same platform. So when you consider there'll be 3 automakers using that truck platform for trucks and SUVs, Hyundai's got a clear path, or than Kia, to making money off this, and it may not take that long.
Perfect. Richard, very insightful. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, Cal.
Coming up, Genesis Motor North America COO Ted Mengiste talks about the brand's new Magma performance line and Genesis's growth strategy. That's next on Daily Drive.
Are you a dealer creating a workplace culture your employees are proud to be part of? Applications are now open for the 2026 Automotive News Best Dealerships to Work For program. This isn't just an award, it's a chance to get real insight into what's working at your dealership and where you can improve. And we've expanded the categories this year, recognizing everything from technician experience and leadership development to AI enablement and employee retention. The registration deadline is April 17th. Find out more and apply at autonews.com.
Running a dealership today isn't just about finding the right cars. It's about finding the right cars consistently, efficiently, and at the right price. While the market keeps shifting around you, inventory management has become more complex. Vehicles come from more sources, margins are tighter, and every buying decision carries more risk than it used to. Yet, too often, inventory decisions are still made with fragmented data, disconnected tools, and limited visibility into what's actually working. The most successful dealerships are approaching inventory differently. They're managing it as a system, not a series of one-off decisions. They're looking at market data, demand signals, pricing, and acquisition opportunities together, so every move is more informed and more intentional. When inventory is managed end-to-end, teams spend less time reacting and more time acting. They can see what's selling, what's stalling, and where the next opportunity is coming from. That clarity helps reduce aging, improve turn, and protect profitability. The right vehicles are out there. The difference is having a smarter, more connected way to find them, price them, and move them. Learn how dealerships are rethinking inventory management with vAuto and what a more confident, data-driven approach can do for your business.
Welcome back to Daily Drive. I'm Kellen Walker. Genesis has been one of the auto industry's fastest growing luxury brands, selling 80,000 vehicles last year. That's up from just 16,000 5 years ago. Now the brand is adding performance to its luxury formula with a new trim level called Magma. At the New York International Auto Show last week, Automotive News Deputy Editor Lindsay Van Hully spoke with Ted Mengiste, Chief Operating Officer of Genesis Motor North America. They talked about the new Magma performance line, Genesis's multi-powertrain strategy, and the brand's ambitious plans for growth.
Ted Mengiste, welcome to Daily Drive.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So you're showing the GV60 Magma and the G90 wingback concept here. Let's start with the Magma and just talk about what that means for the brand and what you're really aiming for.
Well, it's the first introduction of our Magma trim level, our performance line for Genesis. So Magma will then move on to other models, but Magma is going to deliver luxury and performance at the same time. So not your, pitted out or gutted out, scaled down performance vehicle, but more the combination of luxury and performance. So really a great moment for the brand. And shall I say, the drive is quite exhilarating. You'll have to get into the car because the torque and the horsepower delivered in that vehicle just puts a smile on your face when you drive it. It's a great driving experience.
You talked about that combination of luxury and performance. Do you see that as a white space opportunity? And what is it about that combination that you think Genesis customers are going to be looking for?
Well, it really comes from the brand. The brand has become known for really beautiful designs in the exterior. And when customers open the door and get in the car, they're equally surprised and delighted by the beautiful interior design of our vehicles. So we never wanted to move away from that, but we wanted to add just a little more energy and adrenaline to our vehicles. So that's where the performance end comes. So I think that's the space that we're going to continue down, and that's the space we've chosen for ourselves. It wasn't really driven by trying to find a white space in particular, but more of kind of the foundations of our brand have always been great designs, great interiors, and then we married up performance with it.
So you see that really being a differentiating factor then?
I think so. Our vehicles have been differentiated in the space. I mean, if you look at how GV70 and GV80, our two SUVs, have performed in the market, in a very crowded, very competitive market, our vehicles have differentiated themselves and performed really well. So I think this combination with the performance element added into it, we call it a little shot of adrenaline. I think that'll be a good combination for us.
Talk then about the wingback concept and really the vision behind it and what you think it signifies.
Genesis has a history of developing concept vehicles for auto shows and events, and it's not just to take vehicles to events or find something to bring with us. These are really venues that we use to test if Lindsay likes it, our public days if consumers like it, what the comments are. And sometimes we build the car. Sometimes we take elements of the car and incorporate it or integrate it into a future product. And sometimes the design language is hinting at the direction that we're going to be going down in the near term for the Genesis brand.
Has any of that been decided yet for the wingback concept? How that may appear?
Well, we're still waiting to hear what you have to say. We don't know. I mean, it's something that we're considering seriously, and we'll see what public feedback is, and then of course we have to see if the business model works to bring it into market. Again, not just for the United States. Genesis is sold internationally, so maybe it's more applicable in other markets, or maybe it's applicable here. So we'll see.
What's the vision behind it? What in developing that concept? What were some of the themes, the ideas that you wanted to convey?
Well, if you look at it, it's something different, right? We don't see a lot of wagons in the United States. So it's just something that's fresh, it's different. It has just this confident stance about it. It's got 22-inch rims on a wagon. It's a 2+2. So it's also really allowing our designers the freedom to go out and explore uncharted territory and see what they could do in a segment that already exists. So it's to keep that creativity flowing, and at the same time bring something fresh and new to the public that they've never seen.
You're trying to grow the brand consideration, increase sales here in the U.S. and globally. What does that look like for you? As far as that strategy goes, and what have you seen really? As far as consideration growing among maybe older buyers, younger buyers, where are you seeing some of that growth?
So we've been around for 10 years. If you think about it, even 5 years ago, in 2020, we sold 16,000 cars, right? In 2025, we sold 80,000 cars. Quite a tremendous growth for the Genesis brand. Our strategy is rooted in really one word, one cornerstone for the brand, which is sonnim, which means honored guest. And what does that mean to us? Well, how do you treat an honored guest in your home? One, you try to know everything about them before they arrive. When they do, you want them to come in, you want to greet them, you want to welcome them in, you want to make them feel comfortable, you want to anticipate what they might want that they maybe don't share with you or don't voice to you, and surprise them and delight them. And that's what we try to do with all of our vehicles, right? And our strategy is to deliver that level of care to our customers in what is a very beautiful vehicle to win their hearts and minds. And that wrapped around quality, durability, safety. All of our vehicles have had IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus. and a level of care after the purchase that maybe they haven't never received anywhere else is really the strategy we deploy to grow our brand.
And you've talked about that growth incremental, I guess, to the degree that, you're not looking to be a full line brand right off the bat. You're trying to pick the spaces where, your customers are going to be and the kinds of segments that they want. How are you approaching growth kind of in that space? Are there white space opportunities out there that you'd like to get into or you think you could be in? And how are you approaching kind of growing the lineup?
Yeah. In the 10 years we've been around, we're the fastest luxury brand to grow to 1 million units in 10 years in the history of automotive. But it was done strategically with the models we picked to enter the market. If you look at our lineup right now, we're still in a lot of segments. We don't compete in a lot of segments still today. That means there's still opportunity to enter segments that we're not in and compete and ideally do well at them. Is there white space segments to create? Maybe, but it really comes down to what do we see in the market, whether it's in the United States, Europe, or wherever it may be, and what are there unmet needs that we could fill, right? And maybe that's a white space segment or product. Maybe it's a segment that we don't compete in that we feel we could do well in. So all of that's on the table, and we go through that strategic planning process multiple times per year.
Hyundai announced today that Genesis, I believe, is getting 22 new models by the end of the decade.
That's right.
So you do see there is growth coming. You do see an opportunity there. And can you talk a little bit more about what that now to 2030 roadmap looks like and what that's going to mean?
Yeah, and remember those 22, the message that Jose shared today on 22 vehicles coming into market by 2030 is not only new product, but also new powertrains, new trim levels, and things of that nature. So when you look at other announcements that we have made at Genesis, as an example for propulsion systems, we've already announced that we will have ICE petrol engines, we will have hybrid vehicles, we will have extended range electric vehicles, and we'll have battery electric vehicles. Maybe not all four will be in a single model, maybe there will be, but we'll have all the propulsion systems. So in that 22, you can imagine new powertrains, new engines, new trim levels. We just announced the GV70 Prestige Graphite coming in on board. This past year, we also announced the GV80 Prestige Black, GV80 Coupe, G80, G90. So you're going to see a lot more variants coming into market. Magma proliferating through our other models. So that should tell you that there's just a lot of activity happening at Genesis. We're investing quite heavily in the brand to continue our growth.
Do you see that as those 22 being, entirely new nameplates, or would that 22 be maybe an EV and a hybrid version of the same nameplate would be counted as two separate?
Correct. It could be different powertrain offerings. It could be different trim levels being offered on models, and it could be also new nameplates.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not necessarily that you'll have 22 nameplates.
Oh my
to
gosh,
Genesis.
wouldn't that be? That would be quite challenging to pull off. But there are nameplates we will be bringing in because, as I said, there's a number of segments we don't compete in today that we plan on competing in.
You talked about that multi-powertrain strategy, and that's been something that the Hyundai Group has really emphasized. And we've seen a lot of growth, especially with hybrids over the last few years. Knowing that the EV market in the US right now is uncertain and still evolving after the loss of the tax credit, it's put a lot of things, I think, in flux. And so how are you thinking about electrification and where you need to be, electric, where you need to be hybrid, and kind of how you think about that in totality?
How we deploy those powertrains by model will take a lot of work and analysis and discovery on who's that customer in that segment and how do they use their vehicle and what is the powertrain best suited for that customer. And we'll go from there. But then at the same time, I think you can find a BEV customer in every segment. You can find an ICE customer, in every segment, because that's where we started, or a hybrid or an EREV. I'll use my wife as an example. She didn't know she liked EVs until she drove one. And she will never go back to petrol, which is amazing to me. She just doesn't like stopping at gas stations. I don't think she knew she didn't like stopping at gas stations until she didn't have to anymore. And I think there's a lot of customers of the same mindset that just drove EV once and that was it for them, and they exist in every segment. But the trick is then putting 4 powertrains in one model gets to be quite complicated. And it's where are the majority of the customers leaning in that segment for the powertrain? And we go from there.
Genesis Motor North America COO Ted Mengiste spoke with our own Lindsay Van Hully at the New York International Auto Show. That's Daily Drive for today. I'm Kellen Walker. Thanks to Automotive News executive producer Jake Neer, as well as our own Hans Greimel and Richard Truitt for their reporting for today's podcast. You can get the latest news on Genesis's growth strategy, Kia's pickup plans, and everything happening in the auto industry at autonews.com. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you think of the show and the topics we covered today. Send us an email at dailydrive@autonews.com or leave us a voicemail at 313-444-2774. And if you enjoy the podcast, remember to like, leave a review, and subscribe so you never miss an episode.